Hi YouTube, Engineer Boy 100. Today's video is what I believe to be the solution, not a solution, the solution for the BMW X3M and BMW X4M differential bolt failures that many of us are very much aware of. If you're not aware of it, do a search and get this kit. This kit is the solution that I'm putting in my vehicle, and it is the solution that I recommend for you. Today, I'm going to review the kit. I'm going to show you how to install it. But first, I want to stress 2 points, and I really want you to pay attention to these 2 points because they can save you a lot of headache and a lot of heartache if you listen. And the second point is way more important than the first. Number one, this kit addresses the actual issue that is causing the bolts to fail. Okay, there are other kits on the market that I've even used one, and they replace the bolt and they try to replace the sleeve, and they also fail. The kit that I'm taking out today has already started to fail. The bolt has started to bend. And the reason for that is the bushing itself, the OEM bushing itself, has too much give, too much play, and it allows the torque of the differential to bend the bolt back and forth like you would bend a hanger wire. The bushing gives, and it allows back and forth motion of the bolt until it snaps. So it doesn't matter what bolt you put in there, it doesn't matter how strong the bolt is, it doesn't matter how big the bolt is. As long as you put it through that bushing that has that rubber center, it is going to fail. 100% guaranteed. Okay, so my second point that I really want you guys to listen to is, in removing that OEM bushing, use the bushing puller. And to emphasize that point, I'm going to share with you the mistake that I made, as embarrassing as it is, to help drive home the importance of not trying to hammer it out, not trying to air hammer it out. It will not work. The material that surrounds the rubber is too thick. The metal is too thick and too soft. It will smash, and it will expand, and it will make the bushing get tighter and tighter and tighter. You will play hell. I just did. I made that mistake. I started with the puller and it didn't work initially, so I said, oh, I'll just pound it out real quick with a hammer. Then I started damaging the bushing. Then I panicked. I said, well, shoot, I really need to get this done. So I got an air hammer, and I spent the next 3 days hammering that bushing out. Do not use a hammer. Do not use an air hammer. I'm sorry that I'm using this much time in the video to emphasize this point, but if you listen, it will save you days, if not weeks, of headache and shop costs if you try to take that bushing out some other way. In addition to that metal being malleable and thick, the outside of the bushing is covered in a rubbery material that adheres very well to the housing on the car. So you will play hell getting that bushing out if you don't use the appropriate puller. Here's an example of the appropriate puller recommended by the manufacturer. There are others, but use a puller. It will pull straight, it will pull evenly, it will pull it out. It'll make this job a lot easier, and it will also help if you use some kind of a lubricant. Spray something in there. It's probably not specific what kind you use, but any kind of a lubricant is going to help with that bushing coming out. That being said, I want to say a word about the manufacturer, Einhorn Industries. I looked up Einhorn Industries, did a little bit of research on the company, and there's a few things I really like about the company. Well, number one, they are right here local, USA. They work out of Southern California, and they do all of their development, all of their testing, and then all of their manufacturing right in-house. They are specialists in BMW M performance parts and upgrades, and they've been doing it for over a decade. They're not new at this. They've been doing it for a long time, and they do, from what I've noticed on this part, and I've looked at other parts on their website, they do an excellent job. And they make parts for, M3s, M4, M5, M6, so it's not just this. Check out their website. There will be a link in the description to their website and to this part. This company is awesome. When I first saw this bushing, I immediately reached out to them and asked them if I could get one of their bushings and do the install and do a review. Upon receiving the bushing, I'm very, very impressed. It's well thought out. The selection of materials is well thought out. The tolerances between the bushing, the insert, and the bolt are very tight, very close, very well made. I'm extremely impressed, and I'm excited to get this installed. I'll bring it in close. I'll point out the specifics that I like about this bushing, and then I'll show you how to install it. And I do plan to do another video maybe a year from now to give an update on how it has performed, but in looking at it and my knowledge of materials as an engineer, as an enthusiast, I really think that we're not going to have any more problems with these bolts bending. I think this is the ultimate solution. So come on in, take a look at this kit. Okay, these are the components of the kit. The kit comes with a set of written instructions and the hardware and the bushing itself. If you look at the center here, this is the thickness of the aluminum insert. Okay, that is beefy. That is going to be strong, and it's going to maintain a very good connection between the bolt, all right, and the differential. Well, another thing I really liked about this was they have a little beveled edge here that will allow it to go in easier when you go to install it initially. And they have a nice flange on the back that will stop it for you. So here's their logo, unicorn. This is their unicorn egg, one of their unicorn eggs. The way this installs is as the front of the vehicle is on this side. Okay, I'll show you how it installs and what the assembly looks like right now. Okay, you have a small washer that's included. So here's the small washer. It goes on the bolt. Then the bolt goes in, and I want you to see how tight this tolerance is. I mean, there is no play. It is so nice and tight. Look at that. Perfect fit. Okay, you're gonna get no play in this, okay? Then on the other end, they have a huge washer that goes on the insert side. Okay, this will be the back of the vehicle. And of course, they have a flanged locking nut that holds it all together. And then you torque it at 120 foot-pounds. Okay, this is what it would look like with the front of the vehicle in this direction. Okay, you would install it this way from the front. So there's the kit. Let's go out and install it. So what I'm going to do is I am going to lower the exhaust and lower this X brace right here, okay? And then I'm going to press out the old bushing and press in the new bushing. I'm not going to remove all the parts that are identified in the instructions by the manufacturer, but you can do that if you want. All right, so to remove the old bushing and install the new, you will need a bushing removal tools such as this one. There is one recommended by the manufacturer. And take a look at this. There's a card for this one right here. Okay, so you can get that one if you want, or you can get this one if you already have it. Now, one word of caution. This is a heavy duty kit, and this screw that comes with it is too big. All right, so I had to go to Home Depot and get some 1/2 inch screws for reference. About 10 inches long, 1/2 inch, about 10 inches long. So if you have a kit already, you're not going to be able to use your screw because it won't fit through the hole in the bushing. All right, but this is what I'll be using to remove my OEM bushing and install the new bushing, because I already have a more advanced kit, and you'll see me using this shortly. So the first thing to remove is the plastic undercovers. A quick tip on removing those. They are held on by 13 8mm screws and one 10mm plastic nut. So be careful when you take off the nut. Be advised it is plastic, and there are 13 screws and one nut on each side. All right, so next is going to be this X brace. I've already taken off the first two 16mm screws, bolts actually. Okay, if you go down on the right side and the left side, there are two more on the ends. If you go down here, there are two more right here, okay, on the end. And if you go across, there are two more on the left. Okay, 16mm. Then right in the middle, there's a little hanger, and they both have 13mm nuts, which I've already removed. One on the left, go across, and there's a 13mm hanger nut right there. Okay, and then this X brace will come off. All right, so once you remove the 16mm screws, bolts, and the two 13mm, you can take off your X brace and put it aside. The one in the center here, you do not need to remove that one. Don't remove the one in the center. Okay, that just holds the two arms together. It does not mount the X brace to the vehicle. All right, so next we're going to remove the X brace, and that has 12 16mm bolts. Here we go. So here's two straight across, 4, and then there's 4 more here. 1, 2, 3, and the one on the end. And straight across, 1, 2, 3, and the one on the end. So total of 12. You take those loose, and then you can lower this main X brace. So here we go. Once you remove all the 16mm bolts on the X brace, take it off and set it to the side as well. Quick tip on those bolts. The 16mm bolt heads on the rear are a different length and diameter than the 16mm bolt heads on the front of that X brace. So keep them straight. All right, so this is the front flange of the exhaust, and it has a flex connection on it here. So I'm going to remove the bolts on the rear hangers and just lower the exhaust down. And I think I'm going to have enough room to work so I don't have to actually remove the exhaust. And I think that's going to save a lot of people some effort. So I am going to remove first this little bolt right here so that I don't damage it when I lower the exhaust. So don't forget this nut right here. Here it is in relation to the front mount flange and the flex connectors. Remove this nut right here before you lower your exhaust so you don't stress it and break this part. Before you lower the differential, make sure you disconnect these two electrical connectors, the lower one and the upper one here, so that you don't break your cables, your wires, when you lower the differential. Also, when you take the electrical connectors loose, pull on the connector itself, not the wires. Here's what that electrical connector looks like from the back. And don't forget to take off these little mounts that hold the wiring harness. There's two of them. There's one here, and there's one holding. Let me go up under this pipe here so you can see it. There's one right here. Okay, holding this one. Pull this one out right now. So there's that one. You get a screwdriver, take this off, and also this and this. I ended up just cutting the zip tie. Easier. Well, if you can avoid it, don't cut the zip tie because it's a permanent part of this connector. It's not the type that you can just replace the zip tie. Sneaky, BMW. Alright, so we're just about ready to lower the exhaust. One thing you got to make sure you don't forget is to disconnect the electrical connectors on your exhaust valves. Your valve here. So push down, your little tab here, you push down. Mine was already loose, so it won't come loose that easy. But you push down on this like that to pull it out. Both sides. There's one on the right and there's one on the left. This is the left. Or this is the right. See, you can see a little bit better. You push down on that tab, and then you can pull the electrical connector out so that you don't strain it when you lower the exhaust. And now we're going to lower the exhaust down onto this padding we have here so that we don't damage it. All right, so that's how much space we have now. And here's the differential. We have a lot of space, plenty of space to lower that differential down. I'm going to be using a jack, and I have a little tray here that I can put my jack on and raise and lower the differential. So once we remove the heat shield, which is next, the rear heat shield, we should be able to lower that differential and press in and out the bushing. Now, the front, this rear heat shield has two plastic 10mm nuts like this right here on either side, one here and one up closer here, and then up to the front side it has four 8mm. These little guys right here, they go all the way around across the top here. And you see there those two, and then there's one more down. See if I can get down on the other side for you. Down over here. One more. So there's four of those little 10mm screws. You take those off and you should be able to remove this rear section of the heat shield. Once the heat shield is out of the way, we can take some of the load in terms of weight off of the differential and remove the rear mount bolts out of those bushings, and also the front mount bolt out of the bushing that we're going to replace. And here are the rears. All right, and we'll just put our jack right here and lower it down. All right, so the rear heat shield is removed, so that's going to give us enough room to access those, the front two mount bushing bolts on the differential. So let's go take a look at those now. All right, so as you can see, we have a nice clear shot at those bolts now with that heat shield removed. We can get right up in there. There's plenty of room, and we can lower that differential pretty easily, and then we'll have plenty of working room in the front side to replace that rear mount, that rear bushing. When you remove the rear bushing bolts, don't forget to reattach your ground strap to the right mount bolt. Once you have secured the vehicle on all four wheels with wheel chucks, put the car in neutral to remove stresses through the differential that will make it difficult to remove that rear bolt. To put the car in neutral, simply start it, pull towards you to put it in neutral, and then turn it off. That will relieve the stress on the differential. So the next step is I just take a little bit of the weight off of the differential with a little jack here. It's my little jack, and this will take the weight of the half shafts, drive shafts, axles, whatever you want to call them, and differential off of the mount bolts in the bushings. So that'll make it easier to loosen all three of these mount bolts, the one in the rear and these two in the front. You want to take a little bit of the weight off, and I just did it hand tight. It's like, and I just like hand tight. I didn't go crazy with a wrench. Just a little bit of tension, like so, off of to remove that weight. So now we can remove these rear bolts and the front bolt. And then we can lower the differential out of our way to replace the bushing. We remove the two front bolts on the front mount. You can see that the bolts are removed. And now we're going to do the rear one. So here we go. All right, so all the bolts are removed front and back. We have our jack here, and we're getting ready to lower the differential. So I thought you guys would get a kick out of watching this guy go down. So here goes. Okay, so now it's clear for me to go ahead and press out the old bushing. I'm not going to be able to hold the camera and show you how I put it on there, but you need to put one in, you know, a cup that's bigger than the outside on this side, and then a pusher that's smaller that can go through the back. So once I have it in there, I'll show you the setup, but I can't set it up and hold the camera at the same time. All right, we're set up to remove the old bushing. Here's the cup on the, I guess you would say, front side that's going to catch it, and I'll show you what we're going to push with on the back side. All right, so here's the back side, and yes, I will be cranking it by hand to be careful. And you want to make sure that your cup, that your disc that you're pushing with will clear the inside of the housing. And you want to make sure that on the back side, your cup is not obstructing the exit of the bushing. So now I will start cranking this out, and I'll take out the old and put in the new. Once the OEM bushing is removed, check the housing for any nicks or damage and make sure it is very clean and smooth. Then I like to lubricate both the surface of the housing and the bushing. When installing the bushing assembly, do not hammer it with a hammer or even a mallet. The assembly is not designed to be impacted. Simply install it with the tool, as I said earlier, with one hand in the back, one hand in the front, and one hand in the back, like so, and then use the tool to install the bushing. The bushing is in place and square. This is what it looks like in the front. I'll show you what it looks like in the back, and then it's very easy to pull in with your wrench. Here's what it looks like in the back. Here's what it looks like in the back. All right, so the bushing is pressed all the way in. Notice how close that bolt is to the heat shield. So that is a 10-inch bolt that I got from Home Depot, 1/2 inch by 10 inch, and I'll repeat this in the closing statements. I'll let you see what it looks like in the back with the bushing pressed all the way in, and then I'll show it to you again once I remove the tool. All right, here's the back side or front side, however you want to call it. This is what it looks like pressed all the way in. You want to make sure that that flange is all the way up against the housing on the vehicle. All right, so I'm going to take the tool off and I'll show you what the bushing looks like installed. Okay, so the bushing is fully installed. This is what it looks like in the front side. Okay, once you wipe all the excess grease off of it. And we've wiped off all the excess grease in the front as well. So I'll show you what that looks like. And then all you have to do is line up your differential, put your bolt in your washer in from the back, and your large washer and flange nut in on the front. Let's go look at the back side. All right, this is what the back side looks like once you wipe all the grease off of it. So now all we have to do is mount up our differential, put the exhaust and everything back, and go for a drive. All right guys, the bushing is installed, and I'm going to give you a really super fast rundown on reinstalling everything and putting it back together. First thing you're going to do is install this heat shield. Remember, there are 4 8mm screws and 2 10mm nuts. When we raise up the exhaust, don't forget to reattach this screw, this nut right that goes right here that we took loose in the beginning. Don't forget to reattach this nut. Okay, so once the heat shield is back on and you've raised the exhaust back up, you can go ahead and put this X brace back on. Okay, after that X brace, then this Y looking brace goes next. This one right here. Put that on, and then we're going to go with our 2 side covers. After the X brace and the Y brace, you have your 2 side covers that have 13 8mm screws and 1 each plastic 10mm nut. And once you put these on, you're done. Promised I would remind you about this. Promised I would remind. So don't forget the ground strap on the right hand side of the front differential bushing. On the right side. Don't forget that ground strap. Okie doke. Signing off. Thanks for watching. I'll see you inside for the final comments. Okay guys, the rear different bushing is installed. I'm very happy with it, as I'm sure you're all very much aware. If you made it this far in the video, thanks for watching, and I hope this helps someone. A few final points that I hope will help anyone who wants to attempt this, or it's just information if you just want to watch it for entertainment, but know that this is not a job for beginners. Hopefully you picked that up from the installation portion, and you need to know that there's no way I can cover every detail of what you need to be able to do. You need to have some mechanical inclination to be able to perform this task. That said, there were like 6 things that I wanted to highlight and a couple of tips that I came across going through the process, and I'll try to rifle through those as quickly as possible and end this long video. So, number 1, no need to remove the exhaust. So the exhaust has a flex connection up at the flange towards the front of the vehicle, and I think it's made for actually making it easy, especially if you're working by yourself. You just remove the 4 rear hanger bolts and make sure you take the 13mm nut that's on some kind of a valve up front loose, and you can lower that exhaust down far enough to perform this task. So there's no need to remove the exhaust because it's heavy and it's going to be hard, especially if you're working by yourself, to get that realigned with the front flange and get that hooked up. Number 2, I highlighted this a lot already. I've emphasized this a lot already. Use the press tool. Do not try to hammer the OEM bushing out. Do not hit that bushing. You will regret it. Okay? Don't hit any of the bushings. Don't hit the new bushing. Don't hit the old bushing. No hitting. Just like when your mom told you when you're a kid, no hitting. Okay? Let's not hit anything. Put the car in neutral. That's going to help relieve any kind of tension or stresses that it has. It'll relieve it, it'll relax it, so that you can align the holes more easily and get the bolts in and out, get the bushing in and out more easily. The torque specs, I did not get torque specs for like the X braces, the Y brace, or any of the other braces. And I didn't even get torque specs for the front bushings. Only that rear mount bushing did I get the 100. It's actually 122 foot-pound or 165 Newton meters. And so I just did it to mechanics feel. For me, I went with about 30 foot-pounds is what I put the X brace to, those 16mm bolts. They're all roughly 30, but you can look those up if you want. That's what I did with mine. I felt more comfortable doing it by feel than trying to torque them, because I just feel better doing that. All right, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like I already said, don't strike the new bushing to install it. Don't try to tap it and get it started. Just put it in and press it in with the tool. Don't hit it. It's not made to be impacted. You could compromise the integrity of it. Don't hit it. And finally, when you go to realign the screws, the bolts for the differential, the 2 in the back and the 1 in the front, there's probably different ways you can do it, but the way I think is the best is to install the left. Am I thinking left, right, left? The left bushing first, the one in the front, the 2 that are together, the one on the left, because it has to go into a threaded hole, okay? Once you get that one in, okay, just leave it, don't tighten it down, then do the front rear bushing, the single rear bushing that we're replacing in the video. Do that one, get it started, don't tighten it down. Then do the final bushing on the right, the one in the front that you have to connect that ground wire to. Put that one in last, because it goes straight through and it threads into a nut. So you're going to have more forgiveness in trying to get that line to get it to go through, and you have more wiggle room to move everything. I found that useful. But outside of that, the bushing went in smoothly. The new bushing went in much easier than the OEM came out, and I think it went in much easier than the OEM is going to come out, even if you use a tool. It's just a better fit, and it just works better. So anyway, that's my take. I'm sticking to it. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Sorry for being so long-winded, but there's a lot of information I wanted to cover, and I wanted to make sure that anybody who tried to do this got the best information possible. Have a nice day.